the second half of the 1990 Grand Final.
Terry Danaher was running amok and he had a day where he put on his boxing gloves instead of his footy boots.
They clearly went out wanting to go us. It was strange. It was strange.
Knocked out two players, it's just unusual. I don't know what got into him.
Coming in late and hitting players wasn't the right way to go about it at the time.
He doesn't look too good.
No, I don't think he's going to take the kick. He's not. Another player's got the ball.
Well, he's just got to come off the ground if he can't take his kick.
Mickey McGuan's going to take it.
Well, I was pretty happy about that because it's got a 50-metre penalty. I was happy to sacrifice Starks getting knocked out to get Mick the goal that sort of put us 7 or 8 goals in front.
He kicks. He's done it. Well, they haven't had a better chance since 1970.
And the crowd can sense history being made here this afternoon.
I remember talking to Stars and someone said that we were talking a bit of gobbledygook. It was just a dream. I remember thinking, geez, I'm at a game of footy, but I'm actually watching the game. I'm not involved, I'm not playing. And it was all a little bit surreal.
Manson's going off and Brown's coming back on for Collingwood.
Listen to the roar for Gavin Brown. And he'll go down to Terry Danaher.
And I was pretty fired up.
Geez, what's he going to do here? You know, is he going to just go up and king hit Terry Danaher? What's going to happen?
Brown, naughty boy, fronting up to Danaher. You might get a whack in the gob. Brown is looking for trouble and he might get it.
Might have said he's going to bump me or I'll get you back, you bugger.
It was spur of the moment, so I don't regret it. I look back and I sort of cringe a little bit.
And he is testing him, nose to nose.
The whole stadium lifted and all the players lifted, no doubt about that. It was a great moment.
You know, I've taken your best punch and, I was out for a while, but I'm back.
The Bombers are going to have to do something if they're going to win this flag.
Dacos, look at him go. Mr. Magic has kicked the most unbelievable goal you have ever seen in a month of Sundays. Houdini, eat your heart out.
Well, the Bombers have kicked only 3 goals. And at last, they've made it 4.
Into half forward, Brindle. It should be paid, it is.
Dangerous time for Collingwood. They don't need this.
Brindle, and he stabs at it, puts it through. Essendon get another one. And 2 quick goals to Essendon. They're still within striking distance, the Bombers.
Danaher versus Brown. Danaher makes the spoil. Roving for him is Thompson. Head pass to Brown.
That is the biggest gift of all time. That is like winning Tats Lotto, losing your ticket, and some bloke puts in the sun that he found it.
Collingwood have a commanding lead of 40 points.
Millane, the raging bull from Victoria Park. He's protected that thumb and he's done it well.
He broke it just before the finals, and I remember the doctors saying, well, he's out, he can't play. And he said, no, that's not true, I'm going to play.
When he did it, he came to train in plaster. They put it in plaster. He trained all week with plaster. I remember him cutting the plaster off match day, and just to see him sort of pull the thumb out of the gap in the plaster, they'd inject it every quarter. Out in the ground at half time and 3/4 time, they just injected it.
He would be re-breaking it every game.
Darren Millane, fair dinkum, he's as tough as rocking horse droppings, this boy.
All the players were suffering watching him go through each game and going through the whole week with the pain that he had to endure.
Playing with broken bones, well, I'll show you. And if you don't take notice, then I'll show you again. Now, not a lot of players have got that. He had it. But his performance in his career was reckless with the cause.
26-year-old Darren Millane, a larrikin star of Aussie rules, lost his life suddenly at 10 to 3 this morning. He drove a car into the back of a semi-trailer in Albert Park.
Well, I got the phone call about 3 in the morning from the Victoria Police, rang McAllister, the president, and we went down to the morgue. Still lives with me a fair bit.
Gubby Allen called me and told me that Darren had passed away, and I didn't believe that, so I just jumped in my car and I drove round to Craig Kelly's place where Pants would normally stay. Broke into the house, because he might have been, I thought he might have been sound asleep, so I broke in and satisfied myself that he wasn't there, and sort of reality was starting to sort of hit home at that point.
And then the name came over the radio, and I just sat there, I reckon, for probably about 30 minutes in my car.
And a reporter from the news rang me up, and she said, so matter-of-factly, I'll never forget it. Oh, look, he died in a car accident last night. How old was he? And I'm thinking, is this a joke?
It was surreal. I had to go and get his bag out of his car.
Just hard to put into words.
There is no greater tragedy than the death of a young man in the prime of his life. Those who feel deeply will grieve deeply.
The fact of the matter, he was drunk and he drove. Luckily he drove, it didn't hurt someone else. I think he'd be the first person to say that too. I mean, he was the first person to say at times he was stupid.
This couldn't happen to him, but it did. Irrespective of who you are, you do the wrong thing, you're going to pay the price.
I thought he was bulletproof. I think a lot of people did. It would never happen to him, and it did. So it was such a tragedy, such a tragedy.
We've got a trait about an Australian people that we don't tell people we love them until they're gone. It is a shame because if I could say to Darren now that I loved him, and I think the players would too.
It's education, it's continual education with young adults, especially males, that they do think they are bulletproof, and it's not going to happen to them, but we all know that's not the case. You have to do the right things.
If ever there has been a launching pad where Collingwood will make history and win their first flag for 32 years, this is it.
Well, I've got a theory that Collingwood's collywobbles would appear if Essendon came at them in the last quarter.
They would be uncertain about the victory in a grand final, knowing that the club had had a history of not necessarily winning grand finals. That was certainly mentioned by Kevin.
And you've got to work out how you can infiltrate their thinking and get quick goals, because the clock is ticking.
I was so scared. To be a winner after having all the heartache.
You've got 25 minutes, you can feel it, it's in your hands. What's going to happen?
I reckon if Essendon could kick 2 or 3, they could send the fear of the Lord into 75,000 Collingwood supporters here at the MCG.
Never home and hose with guys like Kickett in their side.
A long kick up towards the forward line.
Kicks and hits the post. Well, that perhaps says it all.
High kick wide. Kickett and Tony Shaw. Shaw has been inspirational. Look at that. That is the story of Tony Shaw.
He was sort of like a wind-up doll that just kept going and going and going, and he was going to take his last breath on the MCG to make sure that they had victory on that day.
The Bombers are still trying desperately as they throw their bodies in.
And Collingwood defence standing up grandly. They've only given away 5 goals in 3.5 quarters of football.
Breaks to Shaw again. The skipper gives it to Bowen. On to Banks. Dennis Banks caught. Back to Bowen. Doug Bowen shoots. Collingwood are home.
Essendon are tired. Essendon are broken.
And to their credit, not one Collingwood player rejoiced. Such is their discipline that their minds are still on the job. They're making sure of it this year.
They know now. They know.
I remember standing next to Timmy and I said, Tim, you reckon we got you? And he sort of said, mate, I reckon you had us at half time.
Their heads were right down and they were beavering away and they didn't look up until the final siren sounded.
Anthony Danner, who's tried his heart out, Anthony Danner, all day.
Now, that is a great effort. He just kept his body over the ball. That was Kelly coming through, and that's indicative of the way that Collingwood have played.
Ned's got his head down and he barrowed his head into the bloke's bottom of his knees, both knees. And I said, Ned, that's the reason we've got this grand final and we're going to win it.
Sure, he's saying that's why we won, and that was towards the end of it. Didn't have much left.
And then the Collingwood supporters start singing their song. And, there was nowhere to hide.
After 30-odd years of losing, it just went really quiet. And then the chant came up.
Left. Monkhurst from 40 metres out. The kick looks pretty good. Up go the fans. It's another goal.
That goal said to me, we now can't lose. That's the moment.
This is it. Emotional scenes at the MCG. And there'll be a baby boom 9 months from tonight, you mark my words. And look at Lee Matthews down on the boundary line. Hugging him is Graham Allen and Manson. What magnificent scenes here.
Lee Matthews and Alan McAllister embrace now. They've brought the flag back to Collingwood.
I'm not sure if I can call the last couple of minutes, Tim.
Done it.
After all those many years, it's just a raw emotion.
Just relief. We'd finally broken the shackles.
Mentally and physically, I was shot. I had nothing left.
Talking about the promised land, to all those Collingwood supporters who have passed on since 1958, God bless you all.
Timmy Watson goes over and he and Tony Shaw embrace.
It was just inescapable how valuable his contribution was to Collingwood.
While we've looked at the winners, we must also think of the losers.
You've got to actually talk the truth to them and explain to them that, this may be your last time ever that you'll run under the field in a grand final and walk off defeated.
He was looking at you to see how you were either accepting or not accepting of what had happened. It hurt. It hurt.
The Bombers very slowly and quietly, with dignity, leaving the MCG.
Just felt so gutted by the whole thing. It's just like a stain. You feel like it's a stain on your career.
To this day, Collingwood people will remind you of the day that their club got back on the premiership agenda, and it was at our expense. And that's something that lives with us guys that played in that game, and Kevin, for the rest of our lives.
For much of that year, we were the best side in the competition. But when it mattered most, we weren't. It is something that still troubles you.
I'm not happy they won it. But if we were going to be beaten by somebody, I could cope with a club like Collingwood who turn up every year after year with their fans buy memberships and really decent supporters for their club. And I can cope with that. Don't like it, but I can cope with it.
32 years, and they've now won the first premiership under the new AFL banner. Congratulations. The winner of the Norm Smith medal, surprisingly, Tony Shaw.
I thought I had a fair game, but I thought Scotty Russell was brilliant. And I thought Monkey was fantastic for such a youngster in a game like that.
Can't run, can't kick, can't handball, but just an inspiration.
I'm just so pleased for those 20 blokes who've sort of written their name in history and cut down the folklore of Australian sport.
13 years, it's all been worth it, mate. Worth it Worth the waiting a lot more, you know.
It's the end of the impossible dream. So this is really happening, isn't it? Oh, it's just great, mate. It's unexplainable.
I was telling me mum at home, I wish we all the best. We did it! You said the F word. Do it again. How do you feel? Fantastic. No, don't say that. How do you feel?
I kept swearing. He said, shut up and talk properly. I said, I can't. It's fantastic. It's like beep, 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 beep. He couldn't use any of it.
How ironic all the jokes made about Collingwood for so long that they win the first AFL premiership. It is fantastic for the club. And now I know one happy man, this Tony Shaw being greeted by his wife.
Their performances over the finals just first class. They really were. Ronnie McEwen, I feel for him a bit at the moment, don't you? Alan Richardson.
It's bad luck for myself, but it's the main thing is we won the grand final, that's it.
You know, I go up with this incredibly enthusiastic embrace of a teammate. Whilst there was certainly the embrace back, it was an empathetic brace back. It was a, geez, I'm disappointed for you, embrace back. Emotionally, it makes it worse because then you start to feel even more sorry for yourself.
I try to think myself sometimes, if it had been me, I don't know whether I would have been able to display those emotions that he was able to display, and they were real emotions of happiness for everyone. I would have struggled a bit with the whole thing. Yeah, I would have probably gone a bit insular.
Walking to the car park afterwards, and I was going across the concourse at MCG to the car and bumped into Tony Shaw. At that moment, I had this really weird feeling. I felt happy for him. You know, he was a prick of a bloke to play against, but a good guy, and I felt pleased that Shaw had that experience.
For him to come up and say well done and, you know, congratulate me on what happened, he's a class act.
2 minutes later, I'm sitting in my car, banging the steering wheel.
Takes us hours to get from the Southern Cross to Victoria Park because the bus was just gridlocked. It was bizarre. You can imagine that happening now. It just wouldn't happen.
For me to go home, I've got to drive through Collingwood. Look, good luck.
It was just an amazing scene. The whole ground was just packed with people, and we all got up on stage. It was just a sea of people and a sea of joy. Yeah, well, you felt like a rock star.
You can appreciate what serious rock stars must feel like.
As good as a night you'll ever get. It was like being in heaven.
I don't think we stopped for 4 days. It was a good sit.
As the siren must only be seconds away. Smooth, do you want the last few seconds?
OK, Tim. Half-back flag, Collingwood.
Darren Millane holding the ball up just typified Collingwood in 1990.
I think he deserved that moment in time because of, and it's so appropriate that he finish up with it.
Given the events that unfolded post, it's pretty significant. It's quite amazing, really, that happened.
I have dreams about him. I'd wake up often having a dream about Pants and I playing together. It's weird, as if it's right still there, and I often think he must be still around, but that's, I suppose, those of us that have been in touch with that sort of stuff, you sort of often think they're pretty close to you.
The Millane family, I speak to Denise not as often as I probably should, but we do catch up every so often. A link with Denise and Sean and John keeps a link with Darren. A long grieving there for me. I just never forget it and miss him deeply to this day.
I remember my dad, who didn't want to see him before the game, said, I don't want to see you. I've got to get our head around this thing, and I'll see you after the game. Anyway, he got to Victoria Park, and I remember trying to work through this mass to get to the stage, and I could see these people saying, push out the road. He's a big man, the old man, 6'3", 6'4", and then he's come through, and that was that was pretty emotional. I see it now. I've got 3 boys, and amazing thing to see your sons play footy, let alone win a flag. Anyone who gets a chance to play this game of footy, to stand out there with your mates in the most amazing coliseum in the world. Being in the middle of that, doing your job and being part of Collingwood is just spine-tingling.
It makes me feel really proud, and it makes me feel like that I've really accomplished something really significant.
Every year that there's another group of players that go up and you think, gee whiz, I was that close. It's probably driven me to try and help others achieve that goal.
I played with a few of them, I recruited most of them. I love them.
The fact that I was able to spend a decade of my life at Collingwood is one of the great pleasures of my existence.
I look at it that I'm perceived as a winner.
Collingwood today have done themselves, their families and the Collingwood throng a great service by finally burying the 1958 myth that has carried them into 7 losing grand finals prior to this magical day, the 6th of October, 1990.